Hello all. Today let's look at the parts of a flower. The flower is a reproductive structure of a plant, and it is the reproductive organ which is used for sexual reproduction. A flower has four parts, four floral whorls, or they are also called floral organs or floral leaves. And the four floral organs of a flower are the calyx, the corolla, androecium, and the gynoecium. The calyx and corolla are called the non-essential floral whorls, and androecium and gynoecium are called the essential floral whorls, because androecium and gynoecium are directly involved in sexual reproduction. Androecium is the male reproductive organ and gynoecium is the female reproductive organ of a flower. The calyx is meant for protection of the flower bud, and corolla is a structure that is used for attracting insects in plants which have insect pollination. So these are the different parts of a flower. In some flowers, the calyx and corolla are not separate. Instead, we find in place of a separate calyx and corolla, there is only one floral whorl of organs, and this is called the perions. The units of the perianth are called tepals. And there are two types of tepals. There may be petaloid tepals and sepaloid tepals. Petaloid tepals resemble the petals that we find in corolla. So they are colorful and conspicuous structures, while the sepaloid tepals are green leaf-like small structures which resemble the sepals of the calyx. There are cases where we find apetalous conditions in which there are no petals or even sepals. And in these cases, we find that flowers have only the reproductive structure. They may have the gynoecium, the female reproductive structure, or the androecium, which is the male reproductive structure. So, based on the presence of these different parts that we have already mentioned, we find that flowers are given different terms to identify them. In bisexual flowers, we find that the flowers have both the androecium and the gynoecium. So they are bisexual or hermaphrodite. There are flowers in which there are either the male reproductive structure or the female reproductive structure alone, and they are called unisexual flowers. Among unisexual flowers, flowers which have the male reproductive structure in them are called staminate flowers, while the flowers which have the gynoecium, which is the female reproductive structure alone in them, are called pistillate flowers. Then in flowers which have both the calyx and corolla in them, a term called dichlamydious is used to identify these such flowers. There are flowers in which the calyx and corolla are not separate, as we have seen earlier in the case of perianth, where the calyx and corolla are not separate. So a perianth will be present in such flowers, and such flowers are called monoclamydious. So monoclamydious means that the flower will have a perianth. And in cases where both the sepals and petals are absent, such flowers are called achlamydious. We find in some plants both unisexual and bisexual flowers are found on the same plant. So such plants are called polygamous plants. We find unisexual and bisexual flowers, and even the sterile flowers, that is flowers which do not have the androecium and gynoecium on the same plant. So they are polygamous. And there are plants which are monogamous. Monogamous flowers have, plants have unisexual flowers in them. And monogamous plants can be monoecious, in which the male and female flowers are on the same plant, or they can be dioecious, in which the male and female flowers are on separate plants. So these are some of the important terms that are used to identify the different characteristics which we find in flowers. Thank you very much.